A three-judge bench hearing the petition arising of the impeachment of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, and of course the proceedings are still ongoing. The side of the petitioners, spearheaded by Senior Counsel Paul Muite, have been able to front their case in terms of why conservatory orders needs to be issued. We will be hearing also from the respondents, led by the former Attorney General, that is Githu Muigai, the Tharaka Member of Parliament, that is George Murugara, and other lawyers that have assembled before the Justice Eric Ogola-led bench to hear this particular case. And of course, talk to us on our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1 and at Abdiaziz Hashim 2. Let's get to start and inform you on what other stories that are making headlines at this hour. In terms of the Social Health Authority registration that is currently happening in Homa Bay County, a non-governmental organization, that is Amani Medical Center, has embarked on enlisting residents of Kendu Bay town in Homa Bay County to the Social Health Authority with a view of improving healthcare access. Now, Victor Odhiambo, the Amani Medical Center nurse in charge while leading the drive, acknowledged that a new medical scheme presents a complex registration that often discourages patients, especially those in remote and underserved communities, from signing up.
They come here, we register them. Those who need medical attention, we start the treatment immediately. When clients go to other facilities, you find that there are some facilities that have not started using the SHA. So when they come here, they get it privileged to find the services here.
We do urge the government, if it's possible, then they can make a better mode of registration so that it can be easy for even the patient.
Now to electoral matters, former Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Chairperson Ishaq Hassan is cautioning the continued absence of commissioners to the electoral body as a threat to democracy and negates the spirit of the Constitution. Additionally, the former chair says that the pattern of changing commissioners after every electoral cycle is worrying and affects the credibility of the institution. Hassan has called on the executive and the legislative arm of the government to fast-track the process of fully constituting the commission and develop mechanisms to ensure commissioners are fully protected after announcing election results.
Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission (IEBC) has been without commissioners since January last year, following the retirement of 3 former commissioners, while the other 4 commissioners were forced out of office following the disputed presidential polls. The exit of commissioners and row over the process of appointment of a new commission stalled operations at the electoral body. The lack of commissioners has since seen some constituencies and wards unrepresented, such as Banisa constituency, which is yet to have an MP owing to lack of commissioners to oversee the mini poll. It is against this backdrop that the former electoral commissioner chairperson Ishaq Hassan is warning that the lack of commissioners threatens democracy and fails to protect the sanctity of the constitution.
A lot of activities of the commission don't happen because of the lack of commissioners. There are no by-elections going on. So there are many people who are not represented by the members of parliament.
Hassan further took issue with the trend of changing IEBC commissioners every election cycle, owing to disputed polls.
It's a very dangerous thing that we have a situation where we have no commissioners of the Electoral Commission for close to 1 year, if not more.
He also called for amendments to the law to guard commissioners from victimization after the presidential poll.
Election dispute resolution mechanism in the Constitution and the law, still we tend to punish the individuals who announce the results. And I think it's very unfair to the officials. And we need to go back and respect the rule of law.
The former commissioner further warned the continued delay in appointing new commissioners with only 3 years left to the next poll is worrying.
But you need to have commissioners to continue to make it a going concern. But if every election cycle you have a vacuum for a year, then you also are affecting the institution itself.
Hassan noted that since 2007, over 40 electoral commissioners have been appointed, but only 3 managed to finish their terms in office.
40 electoral commissioners have been appointed and 3 chairmen. And between that, only 1 chairman has finished his term and only 3 commissioners have finished their term. The rest were either forced to resign.
In July this year, President William Ruto signed the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission IEBC Amendment Bill 2024 into law, following a negotiated process with the opposition.
The signing of this bill paves way for the establishment of the selection panel for the appointment of IEBC commissioners.
If we find a solution to this issue of IEBC, it will be on the way to resolving very many issues in our country.
We'll have to be on, perhaps most importantly, on who becomes the chair of the new IEBC.
However, the process of reconstitution of the commission is yet to commence.
And in other news, the Federation of Women Lawyers Kenya has castigated what it terms a slow pace of investigations into the cases of femicide in the country. According to FIDA, a total of 30 women have lost their lives in the hands of intimate partners since the beginning of the year, but no arrests have been made so far. FIDA chairperson Christine Kungu said that the matter is getting out of hand, calling on the president to declare femicide a national crisis. FIDA has also issued a 30-day ultimatum for action to be taken, failure to which by the Directorate of Criminal Investigations and Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions will lead to the mobilization of women to hold demonstrations.
The media has reported and highlighted the murders of at least 6 women whose bodies were dumped in Kware and Embakasi, shocking the entire country as well as the world. The main suspect in these horrific murders, Collins Jumaisi, escaped from Gigiri police station, and to date, his whereabouts are unknown. Further, the National Police Service is yet to issue a comprehensive statement on the circumstances that led to his escape and steps towards his rearrest and prosecution. Given the gravity of the charges he's facing, we maintain that indeed there's a laxity and lack of commitment by the National Police Service.
Yesterday, the country woke up to the utter shock of the media reports that the body of Yvonne Jirangwa, a 23-year-old trainee Catholic nun, was found in a sewer pit within Rongo Parish Convent. These are just a few of the incidents publicly reported, and we recognize that countless women and girls' murders have not received media coverage this year alone.
We can no longer afford to treat femicide as an isolated series of incidents. It is a national emergency that requires urgent and coordinated responses from the highest offices in the land. His Excellency the President must address the nation and speak to women and girls, providing a clear and unwavering commitment to their right to life, safety and security.
Elsewhere, the National Government Administration officers and the police in Kilifi North Sub-County, Kilifi County, have apologized for the brutal harassment of Uomo residents in Matsangoni area over the controversial nuclear power plant project earmarked for the area. Now, in a public meeting at Uomo area, Kilifi North Deputy County Commissioner Samuel Mutisia acknowledged that excess force had been used against the residents who are opposing the 500 billion shilling project. Several people were wounded, with others nursing gunshot wounds, while scores of others were arrested for continuously protesting against the construction of the power plant in the area.
Tusiweke maneno ya nuclear kwa roho ikuwe sasa hiyo, kwa sababu imeshaenda, turudi kwa maisha yetu. Sawa sawa. Kwa hivyo nitawaletea watu wote hapa, tukuje tuombane nini? Msamaha.
Tutafute njia ya kuhakikisha askari na vijana wa hapa na wananchi wa hapa wanaanza kufanya kazi pamoja, ili tuhakikishe usalama wa wananchi hapa.
Kama wale polisi walikuja kuchapa watu wa Uomo, kuwalazimisha wakubali mradi ambao si wa manufaa kwetu, ni wa madhara. Kama hawawezi kuungana na wananchi wa Uomo, peleka transfer.
Hiyo vita tulimaliza na wananchi, na kila siku tuko na wao. So nikiomba tuendelee vile ya chairman ametuguide. Kuanzia leo tuanze enzi mpya.
Meanwhile, Chuka University students have gone on a rampage following a fatal road accident that claimed the life of one of their colleagues and injured another. The angry students engaged police in running battles and blocked the busy Chuka Meru highway. They blamed the government for failing to construct a flyover bridge despite many such incidents.
Tumekuwa tukiaddress this issue for long, but hawajachukua hatua. Sasa leo tumeamua kuact. Tunataka kuambia kwamba wakuje na footbridge, wakuje na bump, wakuje na zebra crossing.
Tunataka watu watutengeneze hii barabara iko hapa. Wanafunzi wetu wanakufa vibaya sana.
Mimi nimekasirika sana kwao watu wa Kenya. Walikuja kuchora zebra crossing 5. Mtakubali? Mtakubali?
Tumekuwa na furugu kidogo na wanafunzi wa hii shule wakilalamika kwamba kuna ajali ilitokea ambapo mwenzao aligongwa na gari siku ya Jumamosi, ambaye ni kesi inakuwa handled na officers wetu wa traffic. Tunaomba wale wanatumia hii barabara, kama kuna mahali wanaweza pata diversion kidogo kwa muda kitambo, tusuruhishe hii shida, itakuwa vizuri.
Now from Chuka, I want to take you live to the coastal city. You do know the convention for the 31st IK International Convention of Engineers is currently ongoing at the coastal city. And now we are being joined by our very own, that is Regina Manyara, who will be speaking, of course, to the guest of ACK chair, that is Engineer Jane Mutulili. If you can hear me, good afternoon, Ray. And what can you tell us about the first day of the conference that has just started in terms of the convention for engineers that is in the coastal region?
Good afternoon, Hashim. Yes, rightfully put, this is the 31st IEK International Convention, and it's happening here in Shanzu, Mombasa County. And today being day one, two things were taking center stage. The call to action to have more women practicing within this particular profession, and also the place of youthful engineers. The statistics as far as women are concerned, it shows that out of 25,000 professional engineers in the country, only 13% are women. This is a situation that fellow engineers have come together and said that something needs to be done. Before I belabor that particular point, let me introduce our guest this afternoon. That is none other than the chair of ASEC, Engineer Jane Mutulili, to bring us up to speed on the objectives of day one and the role that ASEC is playing to bridge this gap. Thank you very much for your time. So we've already heard from the key speakers this morning, saying that, you see, we do not have women, or rather the representation of women as far as the engineering profession is concerned, are very few. And what can we do as ASEC? What is your opinion?
Thank you very much. Yes, it's true. The statistics show that we are very few women engineers. We are 13% out of the engineers in Kenya, and we are trying very hard, or we've been trying. Actually, we've made some steps since at least the last 10 years when we formed the Women Engineers Council. And with that, we are just trying to bring women into the forefront to become engineers and to retain the profession. So that's one of the things, encouragement, being together, and also having people, people you can look up to. So the older engineers, the older women engineers, we've come together and we are trying to just be there as role models for the younger engineers. We also have
about that particular response, Madam. That we still have.
We apologize for that technical glitch. Once we do get a hold of our report, I can see now the link is a little bit better. Let's listen in to Regina Manyara.
Yes, I must say that the times have changed, but not as much as they should have changed. They've changed a bit. In my class, when we are taking engineering, we were only 8 of us in a class of 132 because we were the double intake. Now there are a few more than that. And as for the payment, Well, let me say that everybody is actually trying. There is that sensitivity about gender equality. And what I was trying to say before, engineers, we are not just there for them to see the role models, but we also mentor them, we encourage them, and when they have issues, at least now they see the people that they can come and talk to. That was not there earlier, because if I see the people who are older than me, they are actually older engineers than me, they are actually very few. So at least now you have people you can look up to, and we are also grouped, so at least there is, that togetherness. So we are able to come together.
Some of the proposals also that have been made this morning is to have PPPs, public-private partnerships, secure at least 40% of the projects for local engineers. What do you think about this particular directive to do and the impact it is going to have overall, and as far as unemployment of engineers is concerned?
This is actually in our constitution, and I must say that it's much easier said and written than done. We have that 40% of projects that the local content. It's never done, and we are trying as much as we can to get it done, and we can only continue trying and hope.
Now, there's also been another proposal. Presenters also raised the issue. Study engineering do not get. Why do you think this is so, and what recommendations do you have?
Let me talk on the women.
Well, of course, we'll be linking up with our reporter once again, Regina Manyara, and we do apologize for that technical glitch. It is the 31st of IEK Convention that is currently ongoing in Mombasa, where the engineers from across the country have a conversion. Of course, she'll duly inform us as well on our subsequent bulletins. Now, the county government of Isiolo has assured members of staff that protecting their personal data remains a top priority for the administration. In a statement, the county secretary and head of public service, Dade Boru, noted that investigations are currently ongoing to establish the source of the payroll data leak on social media platforms. This as Deputy Governor James Lowassa cautioned local leaders against making political statements that may cause anxiety.
This office has initiated the administrative action of certain key officers whose departments ordinarily and reasonably handle these sensitive personal data and information relating to county staff.
Wakati tunafanya siasa, lazima tukujue inafika kiwango gani. The scope and depth of your politics. Siasa yako ukiwa unafanya labda ikiwa campaign, tunataka kujua matamshi yako itahatarisha namna gani utendaji kazi ya ndani ya county.
Also, the government has been challenged to allocate more funds for research and innovation in a bid to fast-track industrialization in the country. Researchers say the current allocation of just above 2% of the country's budget towards research and innovation is insufficient. Led by the former Principal Secretary for Economic Planning, Peter Mangiti, they said that the meager budget that has hampered innovation and subsequently affected the achievement of sustainable development goals. The researchers who met at an international conference themed leveraging research, technology and innovation in the new economy for sustainable development at the St. Paul University in Kiambu County were also challenged to simplify their research findings for easy consumption.
Opportunities and the resources to put those ideas into what we would call industrial products. And forums like this that help to empower young learners to bridge the gap between academia and industry are very, very important and welcome.
The challenge sometimes in most of the research is that it ends up in journals and is hardly implemented. So the emphasis here should be to make sure that there is a consideration in the research for practical implementation and a partnership between the research institution, the academia, and the industry, which requires the research-driven solutions.
Any idea that we can bring together people to think about innovation, that's what will lead to industrialization and, of course, development of our country.
Now, failure by expectant mothers to seek medical intervention early has been linked to increased cases of the cataract disease among newborn babies in Samburu County. This was revealed by specialists at Samburu Referral Hospital, who conducted eye operations of 6 children aged between 1 and 3. Doctors at the hospital have advised mothers to seek immediate medical care for their children who exhibit signs of the disease. Meanwhile, residents are urging the government to establish a specialized eye treatment facility in Samburu County following the upsurge in the cataract disease, which is putting many children at risk of going blind.
We have performed surgeries for 6 children, 9 eyes, yesterday for treating especially cataract, which is the main cause of blindness in Africa. And the problem is that an avoidable blindness. I mean, it can be treated just in 20 minutes.
Haimaanishi kwamba mtoto jicho ni ugonjwa ambao inasumbua watu wakubwa pekee. Pia watoto wanazaliwa na shida hiyo ya mtoto jicho, kama vile tumeweza kupata hawa 4, na kuna mambo mingi ambayo inachangia watoto kuzaliwa na shida kama hiyo. Mmoja kati yao ni wale wa mama ambao labda hawaendi kwa ile antenatal clinics ili waweze kuangaliwa vyema na kuhakikisha ya kwamba katika ujauzito wao hawapati shida yoyote. So unapata kuna magonjwa labda wamepata wakiwa wajawazito, na hiyo inachangia watoto kuzaliwa wakiwa na shida ya mtoto jicho.
Now, a new social advisory board has been launched in Lunga Lunga area, Kwale County, to tackle issues affecting children's rights with a particular focus on children with disabilities. In recent years, cases of children with disabilities being hidden away or excluded from the community life have surfaced in various parts of the country. This initiative, driven by the social organizations Kid Care Kenya, aims to provide guidance to the government and other advocacy groups on addressing the challenges faced by children, especially those in a rural setting who may be at a greater risk of abuse or neglect.
Mchakato wa kutoa hamasa ili wale watoto ambao wamefichikana, ambao wana ulemavu fulani, waweze kutolewa kupitia hamasa. Awareness ndio ambayo itatufanya tuweze kuwapata wale ambao wako kama ambaye wamefichwa.
Itakuwa ni kwamba kulingana na ushauri wa wale wanakabu ambao wako pale, watakuwa wanaweza wakatuletea kile kitu ambacho ndio muhimu kufanyika pale. Na masuala ya watoto tunashirikiana kwa pamoja.
Now, still within the confines of the devolved units, the Council of Governors is calling on the national government through the Ministry of Agriculture to allocate fertilizer funds and grants directly to the county governments. Led by their chair, Ahmed Abdullahi, who is also the Wajir governor, the governors asserted that agriculture is a devolved function and each county should be allocated its share to cater for their farmers' needs. Details of this and other stories is in our county's news roundup.
Speaking during a consultative meeting between the Council of Governors and the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development at White Sand Resort in Mombasa, the governors reiterated the need to allocate funds directly to the county governments to cater for their farmers' needs and enhance food security in the country.
We are all focused on ensuring that this country is food and nutrition secure. That can only be done if we collaborate and consult within the confines of our constitution.
Elsewhere, human rights advocates in Migori County are urging parents to reject the practice of forced genital mutilation for children born with intersex variations, noting that such practices often conflict with the child's inherent genetic traits.
Intersex children
face a lot of challenges because we find that some parents do not embrace intersex children. So our role is also to talk to parents to ensure that they embrace children who are born as intersex.
At the same time, the national government has partnered with World Food Programme to host the second ministerial meeting of the Task Force on the School Meals Coalition in Nairobi. The Climate Smart School Meal Programme will benefit school-going children and support local farmers to grow crops resilient to climate change.
School meals are such an incredibly important service for children. Right now, across the world, school meals are being seen as critical to deal with a lot of issues.
On crime, businesses were disrupted at Ololunga at Narok Bomet Highway after residents protested over the brutal killing of a man. The angry protesters burned tires along the roads and threw stones at police when told to disperse, forcing the anti-riot police to use tear gas.
Na sisi hatuna amani, tunafanya biashara. Mbona sasa tufanye biashara na wakati tunafanya biashara hauna amani ukifanya biashara?
Tunauliwa kila siku, familia zetu wanauliwa bila hatia na si ati ni pesa wanataka. Tumechoka, sijui security wako wapi.
Finally, a section of professionals in Meru County have come up together to sensitize and mentor youths on the dangers of drugs and substance abuse. The professionals put up ICT hubs for the youths to equip them with skills for online jobs instead of engaging in the vices.
Hapa tutajaribu kusaidiana na wazazi. Hapa nimeona wazazi wengi, wanafunzi wako hapa na watu wa kijiji hii. Tuone ya kwamba hawa watoto wamesoma na wamepata ICT. ICT is the way to go.
Martini Maslin for Lunchtime News.
Of course, apologies for that. Now we're directly jumping into the world of business. Now, Kenya Power says a strong shilling helped it to reduce a financing cost, which coupled with increased electricity sales powered the listed utility firm to post 30 billion shillings in full-year net profit, bouncing back from a net loss of 3.2 billion shillings the previous year. Kenya Power has recommended a dividend payout of 70 cents per share to be paid in January.
Kenya Power under scrutiny last year when it reported a full-year net loss of 3.2 billion shillings. The utility firm attributed the loss to high operational costs, currency-driven finance expense as a result of dollar-dominated power purchase agreements and an aging power infrastructure. Kenya Power has, however, turned this around after announcing a full-year net profit of 30 billion shillings. Electricity sales increased 21% to 231.12 billion shillings, powered by improved sales after 447,000 new customers were connected to the national grid, as well as increased economic activities, particularly in the manufacturing sector.
We were lagging behind in so many fronts. And I think the worst one, which was even highlighted by my boss, the PS, was the issue of meters. And that is, at least we were able to surmount it, and we are able to bring all the meters, and we are right now have adequate stock in addressing that. We have also been addressing other areas, but I think we still...
Finance costs reduced by 24.2 billion shillings to 682 million shillings on account of appreciation of the shilling. However, operating and transmission expenses rose from 37.28 billion shillings to 46.28 billion shillings, occasioned by a 92% rise in wheeling charges for the expanding transmission lines.
You do realize that we have serious growth in power demand. We need these transmission lines. But we have a constraint in terms of funding them through loans and GOK. So we are hoping that in the fullness of time, we will get a leeway in which we can be able to fund them.
The profit has prompted Kenya Power to end a 7-year dividend drought by announcing a first and final dividend payout of 70 cents per share.
You do realize that we have serious growth in power demand. We need these transmission lines as a country, but we have a constraint in terms of funding them through loans and GOK. So we are hoping that in the fullness of time, we will get a leeway in which we can be able to fund them.
We were lagging behind in so many fronts. And I think the worst one, which was even highlighted by the PS, was the issue of meters. And that is, at least we were able to surmount it, and we are able to bring all the meters, and we are right now have adequate stock in addressing that. We have also been addressing other areas, but I think we...
Trevor, and for Lunchtime News.
Thank you, Trevor, for that report. And our focus on our interview segment here on business will be on the aviation industry. We want to look at how it is faring on post-COVID-19 and, of course, following the various regulations that were issued by the government and, of course, implemented in the private sector as well. How has the sector been faring on? Now, to speak to us this afternoon is Cindy Zolani, the head of marketing and ground school instructor at West Rift Aviation. Welcome to the studio, Cindy.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, maybe we start on that. First of all, I can see you've already adorned the attire of where you're a school instructor. But the first question will be, how is it as we speak?
Well, so far we can safely say that post-COVID, things are picking up pretty well. We had a whole lot of layoffs after COVID happened. There was a whole lot of layoffs. There was people losing their jobs and picking up different jobs. But we are 4 years in post-COVID, and we could safely say those who had lost their jobs are back in, and there's been more opportunities created on the same. So I can say the recovery has been fairly good. Yeah.
And of course, past COVID, and you just said layoffs. Have we at least seen in the couple of years post-COVID-19 those people being re-employed?
Yes, a good majority of industries that had put their pilots maybe on a break because, you know, during that particular period there wasn't a lot of flying happening. So you were having sustainability for most companies, both airlines and say flying schools, for example, even regional airlines. They were having a hard time sustaining the industry. So people were laid off, but it's so much easier to get whoever you had on board previously to come back on board. On the assumption nobody was laid off, you know, for maybe disciplinary issues and such. So it has happened that you've had a whole lot of companies just taking back what they had put aside during that particular period. So yeah, people were hired back. Yeah.
Aside from post-COVID-19, we also know, aside from the pandemic itself,
right,
there are various economic shocks that the sector has been feeling and been reeling from for the last few years. Maybe what are some of those challenges you have been able to see, and how have you at least seen being dealt with at the end of the day?
All right, so when you're looking at aviation as a whole, as an industry, you know, most people associate aviation with just flying, but you would have the engineering bit and the air traffic control bit, as well as other different jobs that are within the sector, right? So the industry, if you're looking at it still reeling, maybe you would say there are deficits in some places. The flying sector still has a bit of a deficit going. That's why we always say, we always encourage any new students that we're having coming on board that, you know, we have job opportunities. Or someone admitting their child into flying school, they will ask, is there a job opportunity for my child to have this happening after they're done learning? So we still have deficits going on. We still have a lot of shortages in different sectors. So I would say those particular bits are still suffering, and we are doing our best to mitigate in different areas, yeah.
Maybe as we come to an end of this interview session, we're talking about the rising cost of gasoline.
Yes.
How has that affected the industry? And maybe to our viewers who are listening to you, why is the rise of the cost of gasoline affecting the industry mostly?
All right, so you would have the rise of gasoline prices being an issue in the sense that where you have to spend a lot on gasoline prices, that would have to reflect in how you are allocating whatever funds you have within your industry, whether it's your flying school or your airline. You would have to increase something somewhere, because wherever we have a deficit, something going down somewhere, you would have something else somewhere going down, or if you have something coming up, it's the same way. So if you have gasoline rising, then you would have an increase in let's say school fees for flying schools. That has to go up because they're spending money when it comes to training, right? So they have to increase whatever they are making the students pay, the parents pay when they're bringing the children in. They have to increase on that side. They also have to increase sustainability costs in general, all around. They have to increase that. If you're buying parts for your planes in terms of maintenance, you have to increase the cost on those as well, because you are spending more in every corner, basically. So that's been an issue. It's still an ongoing issue. And it would be, it has been a general outcry for most schools especially. Airlines in general, yes, local airlines, regional, but schools especially, because you see, if you are having this being an industry that a lot of people want to come in, you do not want the cost being an impediment. And as we all know, it's not exactly a myth that aviation training is expensive. Whether you're doing engineering or flying, it's pretty expensive. So you don't want that reaching a point where it's a reserve for the elite only. You still want it being accessible, as expensive as it is. So if you're having costs rising, it becomes a problem that we have to look into. And it's something that the government would play a big role in helping us with. Yeah.
Maybe as we wind up, what can you tell the next aviators who are watching you right now in this particular sector? You've just said clearly there are shortages. So at the end of the day, once they go to school, you do know it's very expensive to study aviation. Will they get jobs at the end of the day in 30 seconds because they're watching you right now?
All right. The thing would be, as with anything, it's a possibility. It's not something that is completely out of reach. So you should not have the cost, the many zeros on your school fees being something that you look at and you decide this is not for me. If you have the dream and you have the determination to do it, you have to find, the ways will always find their way to you, basically, to put it simply. There'll always be a way to be. Where there's a will, there is a way. So if it's something that you have in mind and you have the passion for it and you have the dedication, I promise you money is not going to be an impediment. It's going to be how much effort you're going to put in, and all of your effort will be required. Aside from your money, all your effort will be needed.
Thank you so much, Cindy, for coming in this afternoon and telling us about the aviation industry, how it is faring on. And we wish you all the best. And of course, to the aviators we've just talked to, we hope they will come to your classrooms at the end of the day. There you have it. That is Cindy Zolani. She is the head of marketing and ground school instructor at West Rift Aviation. And of course, telling us about the status update in the aviation industry. But we continue with other stories making headlines in the world of business, where the government has called for increased youth engagement in chemistry education to innovate solutions to address climate-related challenges in agriculture. Now, agriculture stakeholders are speaking during the 16th Pan-African Chemistry Network Congress urged the government to increase investment in chemistry education and agricultural technology in a bid to scientifically equip a workforce and innovate practices that will secure Africa's agricultural future and sustainability.
That have come from across the African continent and beyond. We look forward to hearing about the research being carried out on the sustainability of food, the issues of agriculture waste products, and the circular economy of food. As we engage in these important discussions, I encourage our visitors to take some time to experience the vibrant culture, unique attractions, and warm hospitality that our capital and the country has to offer.
In collaboration with the Research for Life program, all RSC journals are freely available to our researchers who can publish their articles open access at no cost to them.
In that context, it's a particular pleasure for me to be able to welcome colleagues from the Royal Society of Chemistry to Kenya today. The RSC is one of the UK's oldest professional bodies and does an amazing job in bringing together the chemistry community in the UK and also in connecting them to scientists around the world. They're passionate about creating a more diverse and inclusive chemical science community globally, and engagement with the PACN is a key part of this. So I'm so happy that they're here today.
Also, satellite towns and areas on the outskirts of major urban centers have key targets of homeowners owing to availability or proximity to key social amenities. Finsco Africa Chief Executive Officer John Mora says there is high demand for land and housing in such areas such as Thika Superhighway in Nairobi, owing to the infrastructural development that has enhanced accessibility and facilitated investment.
The cost of land in satellite towns in Nairobi has recorded double-digit growth over the last 1 year, outperforming suburb areas. The latest land price index by House Consult indicates that the cost of land in Juja has increased by 20.1% over the last 1 year, while Ruiru is up by 14.1%. The report indicates that apartment sale price in satellite towns also recorded double-digit figures, with prices in Thika increasing 11.7% and Mlolongo rose 11.2%. Finsco Africa Chief Executive Officer John Mwaura attributes this to infrastructural development that has opened up the areas for investment and increased the demand among developers and potential homeowners.
This implementation of this affordable housing, I would urge, let's try to embrace foreign direct investment. And one of the way of encouraging foreign direct investment is to ensure our political temperatures are down.
He says availability of key supportive services such as water, electricity, sewerage, and internet is fueling demand for land and housing along the Thika superhighway.
Can happen that way. You get your money, you pay taxes, tomorrow you pay. In the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, the government will have recouped that money. But if you don't pay supply today, you don't pay supply tomorrow, even money for affordable housing, people will not be able to get.
Mwaura is concerned that the cost of renting houses in Kenya is very high and is challenging Kenyans to explore ways of owning property. Frederick Mwoki for Lunchtime News.
Finally, welcome to the world of sports. Of course, to the major talking point yesterday night, where Spain and Manchester City midfielder Rodri and Barcelona midfielder Aitana Bonmati are the winners of the 2024 Ballon d'Or awards held in Paris, France. Let's take a look.
2024 Ballon d'Or France football winner is Rodri.
Rodri won his first Ballon d'Or award ahead of Real Madrid's duo of Vinicius Jr. and Jude Bellingham. Rodri, who picked up an ACL injury in September against Arsenal, enjoyed the standout season of his career in 2023-2024, winning a fourth consecutive Premier League title and lifting the Euro 2024 trophy with Spain.
The 2024 Ballon d'Or France football is
Of course, that was the major talking point in the world of football. Of course, with Real Madrid players and stars who were nominated to become the best team in the world were unable to attend that particular event. But as I told you, our key focus is at the Milimani Law Court. The case is still ongoing before the three-judge bench led by Justice Eric Ogola. And of course, momentarily we'll be taking you there back to those proceedings that are currently happening at the Milimani Law Court. That is it for on our end. And of course, do join us in our subsequent bulletins at 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. My name is Abdiaziz Hashim. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.
Welcome to the Kenya Deposit Insurance Corporation, or KDIC, a state corporation established under the KDI Act Cap 487C. KDIC, safer, stronger, together.
Lakini wewe ni nani? Sikia hoteli ya Vuma kweli na nini kipi? Hauna habari? Ona hiyo hoteli siku hizi iko na bonge la toto. Mtoto mrembo ajabu mwanangu.
Mbona kamfukuza Jasiri? Ana roho mbaya hata simpendi.
Kuna habari zimeenea. Kuna binti mrembo anatembea kisiwa cha Funzi.
Sasa mimi ni usuna nini?